Brandon Everson here with Punisher Skateboards, and today I'm going to try to teach you guys how to do a frontside 5-0 to switch crooked grind on a ledge. Before we start getting into this, there are 2 tricks that I would say you're going to want to know how to do and have down pretty consistently before doing this one, because it's going to make it a lot easier when you're learning this. Now, I know we're doing frontside 5-0 to switch crooked grind today, but in all honesty, you really don't need to know how to do a switch crooked grind. And I'll explain why in a little bit, but the 2 tricks are going to be a frontside 5-0 to fakie because of the frontside rotation, and a frontside tailslide to fakie because of getting out of the trick. Now, I do have some other little tips and tricks along the way, but let's start getting into it. So to start this trick off, getting into the 5-0, the way that I do this is when I get into it, I land straight on with the ledge and my heel side wheel is locked in against the ledge with my tail setting down. Now the reason I do that is because I try to leave a lot of space between my toe side wheel and the edge of the ledge. The reason I do that, because I know some people can do it with a little bit of an angle, but I do it this way because it gives me more time and more space on top of the ledge in order to do my rotation. Now, the biggest secret that I would say a lot of people wouldn't know right away with this trick is, even though you're turning frontside, you're really relying mostly on your toe side wheel for that rotation. And what I mean by that is, when you sit on top of this ledge, to do the switch into the crook, you're pressing down on your toe side wheel before turning frontside. Now, let me show you what that motion looks like on flat ground, and then we'll also bring it on top of here to show you what it would look like. Now, starting this motion off on flat ground, one thing I could say would help as well is if you happen to find an area outside or indoors that's got a line or crack in the ground like I've got right here, you can use that as a little bit of a guideline to see where your rotation is ending, because you don't want to start straying too far one direction or the other. Your biggest goal when doing this switch and this pivot is you want to try to keep yourself in one position and trying to keep yourself as straight as possible. So for instance, if I was to set my board on the ground here, when you do the switch, you want to lean into your toe side wheel and then start pulling yourself front side. So if I use that crack as a guide, I want to try to make it so I end up so perfectly over that line with one wheel on each side of that line. So doing that, if I lean into the toe side wheel as such, then you want to pull yourself around front side going that way. And the one thing to remember too is, when you go to do that switch, you do want to lift up a little bit as if you're trying to balance in a little bit of a manual. You don't want to do it too long though, because if you wait too long, you might start rolling one way or the other and then you'll fall out of the trick. So when you do that trick, have your tail pressed down, lean against your toe side wheel, and then lift up slightly and turn front side. As you'll be able to see by these slow-mo clips, there is a brief moment where both of your wheels are going to be on top of that ledge, so there is a possibility that you could roll one way or the other and go into either a lip slide or a tail slide. Don't get discouraged, it even happens to me all the time, but just keep working on it more and more until you start noticing that you're getting more consistent doing that switch and dropping into the switch crook. So now that we're this far into the trick, we've got a solid 5-0, we know how to do the switch into the crook, so how do we get out of it? Earlier I mentioned that you don't need to know how to switch crook, and that is still true. This is where knowing how to do a solid front tail to fakie comes in, where you can pop off the ledge. Now, it doesn't have to be a crazy big pop off, you just want to have enough power to where you can pop it a little bit and force yourself off the ledge. Now, it's going to feel slightly different because you're sitting on your truck with your wheel above the ledge, but you're actually just doing that same motion you would do with the front tail, where you nudge yourself forward, you push the tail forward, and you lift it off as if you're just pulling a frontside 180. Now, when you're doing the switch crook, the only difference is when you go to do that nudge and you go to pull yourself away from the ledge, you also want to try to pull yourself and push against that heel side wheel as well, so it pushes you off the ledge. Now, you're going to have some times too where if you go to do that, if you don't already know how to pop off, you might have it to where it might just slip out on its own, or it might try to fall over on itself and flip over. That can happen a lot. I've still had those instances. But again, like with the pivot, you can even just practice it stationary. So just set it on the edge of the ledge, and I would definitely recommend a smaller ledge if you can find one. If not, whatever ledge works best for you will work. But yeah, just set it in there, switch, and then before you do it, you're going to nudge this way and push off your heel side wheel and just push off. And as you can see too, sometimes it'll probably do a little bit of a slide, but as long as you push away from the ledge, you'll be pulling your entire board off the ledge with you. Now that you know how to get out of the trick, You can work on the different steps until you start feeling more comfortable with it. And if you want, you can even start going up slowly to ledges to where you do a slight 5-0 grind, come to a stop, you can do the pivot and then pull yourself away. And as you get more confident and more comfortable with it, start going faster and faster with it until you start seeing that you're actually grinding in both the 5-0 and the switch crook. But once you get to that point, you can start taking it on any ledges that you want, whether it's just a flat ledge, a bump the ledge, a hubba, anything like that. But that is how you do a frontside 5-0 to switch crook grind.